Llegando a San Regis Bahía Beach Resort. Bueno, esto va a ser un episodio espectacular y único. Estamos entrando en una mansión de 19 millones que el dueño la renta por medio de Airbnb, incluso hace house hack, ¿verdad? Pensaríamos que house hack es para la gente que está buscando ahorrarse dinero, así que va a ser bien interesante ver cómo un millonario tiene esa mentalidad de reducir gastos y cómo nosotros lo deberíamos hacer también. Vamos a enseñarle la propiedad, vamos a enseñarle la historia. Va a ser en inglés, pero vamos a ponerle subtítulos y espero también poder capturar, ¿verdad?, todas las amenidades que tiene para ofrecer lo que es el complejo de San Regis. Este va a ser un cierre con broche de oro para lo que es Quédate Aquí Season 1, así que esperamos que se lo disfruten. Nos vemos. Hey, we're here today on our last episode of Quédate Aquí. This is a special season finale. We're here in St. Regis in Rio Grande in Puerto Rico. This is a slice of heaven on this beautiful island. I'm here with Robert. Robert, thank you so much for having us. This place is awesome. This is really a treat for us, so thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it.
So we've been doing this. We've been going around the island, and I had this idea of, hey, let's find the most luxurious Airbnb on the island and let's just randomly contact the owner. And to me, I was like, there's no way we're going to get a response. And within 5 minutes, you replied back.
So wait, we were number one, in your opinion?
Yes.
Number one on the whole island?
Absolutely.
All right, we got to replay that a couple times. I'm glad to hear it. But no, of course. Thank you again. I like what you're doing. I like the whole operation. It's super professional, and it's really my pleasure. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So this place here, I actually had never been inside St. Regis. It just feels luxurious. It feels just like I said, like a slice of heaven. It's really, really special place. So I want to start with you as to where are we? What is this beautiful place? And maybe you can describe it to us and the viewers so they can picture
Yeah, absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. So this is St. Regis Bahia Beach. And I have to just take a second to shout out this gentleman, John Paulson. He's a hedge fund billionaire out of New York who had the vision to see this development and come in and fortify it with the funds and the financing to build it out and to preserve nature in the process. You know, they have a very strict adherence to the nature preserves. There's several, bird sanctuaries throughout that are, you can't touch them. And he's maintaining the integrity of the place while still bringing an element of luxury and comfort to the residents. And so I find this place magical. I've been to several different, I guess what you would consider like luxury developments throughout the world. And nowhere has both the peace and the beauty that Bahia does with the beach, the El Yunque in the back. It's truly magical place.
Awesome. And then tell us about a little bit about the property. So if I book your place, what am I getting?
Yeah, so we have it's considered a luxury villa here, ocean view, golf course view. We have the river down on the back, but 6 bedrooms, 7,500 square feet total of livable space. 1,500 of that's outside, so it's what's that?
6,000.
6,000 inside, air conditioned. 6 bedrooms. It's kind of a hybrid for both entertaining and family because you have the whole family wing, but then the house is laid out in a way that's more entertainment friendly. And we had discussed that it was actually Carlos Beltran who originally built this house as one of his properties. Yeah, great chef's kitchen, huge dining table, and overall kind of a mix for some fun and still intimate family environment.
Yeah, it definitely feels luxurious, but it also feels like you can have a different experience in every spot that you go in the house. Like, for example, if you go to the family room, I was just so impressed with this huge screen, which I'm pretty sure, like you said, Sunday Night Football will be great, there. So,
yeah.
and you have that direct access to the kitchen, which gives them, that entertainment portion that you talked about.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I don't get as much time in the theater room as I would like, but that room is special. It's very comfortable and. Yeah.
All right, Rob, you are what I would consider, right, and I think you all agree with this, a branding expert. Obviously, you've had a lot of success building brands. So what is, now that we're in this program talking about Airbnbs, right, you do Airbnb on this property and other properties as well. What is the importance of, or the connection between branding and Airbnb? And then we're going to talk a little bit more about actual Amazon and all that, but branding itself.
Yeah, so I think if you zoom out, a great place to look actually is St. Regis or Amman or some of these very high quality hotel brands. And you think about like how they serve their customers and what they stand for and what kind of experience you're going to get on a consistent basis. And, I love branding in all facets. My background's consumer products. And so creating a brand around that. But it always starts with, the brand is just a guide to the customer. And what is the customer looking to experience on their journey? And that's really fun to do on the Airbnb side. And you're going to see this more. Like, I haven't had the opportunity to fully dive in and make each property kind of a branded experience, but you'll see elements of, like, if you go to a St. Regis anywhere, if you go to St. Regis in Rome, you go to St. Regis, here, you go to St. Regis in Atlanta, it's going to be a consistent experience with the St. Regis brand. And so, again, that's just around serving the customer, consistencies, and it's starting to develop on the Airbnb side as well.
Oh, that's great. And I think that's something that I talk about constantly on my YouTube channel, and I've done with my own property, kind of like building a brand around it so people can feel identified. And also it helps me identify my customers, who they are, like you said. So, and now jumping a little bit into, obviously, you've had a lot of success with Amazon, right? So is there any parallels? Because I think a lot of people that look into this different business to get into, to give them a little bit more flexibility, most of them will consider both. Some people will start with Amazon, then go into like rentals and all that. So what is the parallel there?
So it's funny. As I said, my background is Amazon, building brands there. And I always had this, I like to put money in real estate. To me, it was like a real thing. You could own it. And so I'd invested a lot of my profits from my business in traditional real estate throughout the years, like, rental properties, more of the normal stuff, a little commercial action. And then I had a second house in Seattle, and I kind of was like, why don't I throw this up on Airbnb? Hardly thinking anything of it. And it 3x'd what a traditional rental would. And I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And it wasn't until we decided to put this property on Airbnb. This was originally our primary residence. And then we went to Seattle for the summer, and we're like, why don't we throw it up on Airbnb? It was then this light bulb came on where I said, oh, this is an algorithm, and there's reviews, and there's ways to rank at the top of the algorithm, and there's ways to be the most luxurious property, right? Obviously you still have to have a good product at the center of that, but that's what really got me, drawing those parallels. I go, oh, this is Amazon in 2013. This is early Amazon. Like, what do I need to do to show up at the top of this and therefore get more bookings and get more revenue? Exactly. And in that process, again, the center of it with Airbnb, you have to have a good listing. You can't get bad reviews. You have to deliver on a good experience. But then the optimization piece, if you have a little digital marketing chops, it's you're going to succeed against the person that isn't taking it all that seriously.
Exactly. Yeah, and there was actually a summer release of some big changes, significant changes that Airbnb did the summer of this year.
Yeah.
And then they just came out with the winter release as well. And you can tell the people who did not adjust to what Airbnb is looking for, the algorithm,
they're
going to suffer. They're going to get crushed.
And fun fact, 50% of all the Airbnbs on the platform today were bought in the last 2 years.
Wow. So
it's getting saturated.
Competitive.
It's getting very competitive. So saturated isn't the best word, because again, the people that take the time to do it right and like care about the little details, right? Like, do you have branded shampoo bottles? Do you, fold your towel on the bed the right way? Do you, even little things like, do the guests have to do all their own dishes?
The smell of the house.
The smell of the house. Like, those are all the little elements that are going to set some people apart, because Airbnb is going to keep growing, just like Amazon. And if you're at that top of the search ranking, when someone, says, I want a luxury mansion in Puerto Rico, and you show up number one, eventually you'll be able to name your price as long as you hang in the game and you continue to rank number one. And so that's how I view the platform. It's SEO based. It's, customer centric, and it's a special opportunity.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's two main questions the customers or the operators have to ask themselves. One is, how can I make my, my experience for my guests to be a top-notch experience? But also, what is Airbnb requiring from me, to push my product, right? Because Airbnb wants to distinguish themselves as some kind of platform, and you got to figure out what that is to make sure you're giving them that product for them to showcase.
Absolutely.
So how's been your experience in Puerto Rico so far, in general?
I think Puerto Rico does it right. Like, at the end of the day, I really do. There's an atmosphere of entrepreneurial support. Like, everyone in the younger generation I talk to here is like excited about business or asking me questions like, how did you do this or how did you do that? And I love that. But the overall vibe is very relaxed. It's very peaceful in the sense that no one's uptight, and no one's like, it's just good energy everywhere.
Excellent. One thing I talk to people on my channel a lot is about house hacking, right?
Yeah.
Because I do it with my Airbnb too.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's one of those like very powerful tools, especially for people that are starting out, as to, how to give yourself a break to start building capital.
Yeah.
Right. And some people, what I find is a lot of resistance from people because, the privacy and different things. I think, small excuses really at the end of the day. But then you have people like you that are very successful, that are doing it. And I think I want to see if you agree with me. It's more of a mentality. I think, that business entrepreneur, making sure you're optimizing. And
here's what it is. The world's changing, and technology doesn't stop. And a lot of people are afraid to adopt that with open arms, and they will resist it until it is forced upon them. But you look at the sharing economy is here to stay. You look at what Uber did to taxis. You like that happens. That disruption. It's an inevitable part of life. And usually in that comes great opportunity to make money, to profit, and to create freedom. Like, usually technology drives more progress. And so from my standpoint, you could either, stand in its way and continue to be welted away like a rock in the water, or like a castle in the water. Eventually you're going to collapse to the changing tide. Because again, it'll be a long time, but the world's changing. And so for me, I decided, this is an opportunity to come at it with open arms. A lot of the things that used to make traditional, homes important are going out of the window. Like, we'll likely probably find some sort of pod or online school system for my daughter, and we'll live more free. Like, we'll live in different places. And Airbnb opens that opportunity in being able to bring in a level of income that supports the mortgage, that supports the debt, and it gives us the opportunity to experience more life. And you have to trade things for that, right? Like, I have to reset up my desk when I come back, and it's a little bit of a pain. But again, taking that with open arms and moving forward, I think it's prosperous, and I think it's inevitable, more importantly.
And like I said, I think a lot of, we all try to, find ways to better ourselves economically and financially. But in reality, what we're looking at the end of the day, in essence, is that freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom of movement, freedom of choice.
Absolutely.
And Airbnb also recognizes that. And there's a big push for these places that provide for people that are traveling and working remotely.
Work from anywhere. Absolutely.
And it is something that it was happening, when COVID happened, that accelerated things. And like you said, it's not going back, right? So
it's not going back. Yeah. It might not go as fast. And that's the thing. People don't realize. COVID was like this eye-opener where you got to realize how fast it can happen. And now it's slowed back down and it's moving at a gradual pace. Like, people aren't buying as many groceries on Amazon. But in 20, 30 years, like, think about where the world will be, and think about where Airbnb will be, and think about, how that impacts our day-to-day living. And there's going to be more mobility, and there's going to be more, freedom, and there's going to be less of what we experienced in the past. That's all you can really say.
That is awesome. If you can give one advice to a new Airbnb operator is about to open, what will you tell them?
Obsess on your customer. Like absolutely. And this is for any business, in my opinion. And it's what built Amazon. I have a lot of respect with Bezos for this, but it's this customer obsession. If you put your customer at the center of it and you obsess, it becomes very hard to fail. And so when you're opening a new property, put yourself in the shoes of the most picky customer. Like, what are they going to want to see? How could you deliver for the most ridiculous customer ever? But that is your customer. That is who's keeping your lights on. And how can you serve them in a way that it guarantees success of your new venture?
That is awesome. I agree. That applies to everything. That's
it does.
A little gem there for everybody. Hey, so I want to thank you again for having us. This place is awesome. We're going to keep enjoying it for a little bit more if you allow us to, taking some B-roll and taking some shots. Tell us more a little bit about yourself. Where can people find you? Any new products that you may have that you want to share with people?
I always take an opportunity to pump my new Alpha Grind, found on Amazon. It's a functional coffee that we just launched. But you can find me on any social media platform at The Genius CEO. I'm in kind of an all-out social media blitz. I'm always talking Amazon, Airbnb. I love to interact, answer questions, and so you can find me there.
Awesome. Rob is this guy that you will not ever think that is going to get back to you because he's had a lot of success. But I tell you, this interview, we set it up in less than an hour. We already had, yes, we're going to do it. Let me discuss it really quick. We'll give you dates. So we really appreciate it. I take a lot from this interview myself, so I'll implement some of those gems and some of that knowledge. Thank you so much for being part of our first season of Quédate Aquí, which is going to continue to be special, but this is definitely a special program and a special season finale, so thank you for that.
It's my pleasure. Thank you again for having me.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. All right, everybody, so you can continue to find us en YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Me consigues como Jan Rialto el PR en Instagram. Acuérdate, fotos profesionales, videos. Consigue a Oti Photography y lo consigues en las descripciones. Gracias por sintonizar esta temporada, por ser parte de esto que es único y especial. Y los esperamos en la próxima temporada. ¡Pau!